Good evening, Dhamma friends. Happy to see all of you after almost around 2 months. I hope that you've been doing your homework. I mean, not in the sense of doing an exam, but in the sense of understanding what it is and all that. And I saw that most of you have been attending almost every Mondays, which we've been doing. As Brother Leslie said, we've been taking some time off because of some other programs here. So I hope that will be a refresher time for you to refresh yourself with the what you call materials, and then to come with a fresh understanding about the Sutta by the first week of January. All right, so today we are going to continue to the next part of the first method. First method is you are going to overcome certain akusalas by seeing them. By seeing them, you are going to see them at the time of akusalas arising, and then the presence of those akusalas. So that's the first one. This is the same thing that anybody who wants to become a Sotapanna has to do. That means you should be able to see them as they arise, as they are present, and as they go away. So the first method is not just a method, it is also the method that a Sotapanna to be, is going to follow. Right? So in that, the Buddha talks about a very interesting Dhamma teaching. That is what you call by Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara. Now, do not take it as a standalone Dhamma topic. It is combined. It is combined with all the Dhamma teachings across the canon. It is highly connected to the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. So today we are learning why many of us, I mean supposedly, many of the people cannot get into this Sotapanna context. The reason is that we have doubts about the past, present time, and the future. Because of these doubts, there are 16 doubts which you may have read last week. Because of those 16 doubts, we are creating 6 type of views. Somebody asked me to explain, couldn't understand probably these 6 views. So we are going back to our previous notes just to understand what they are. I think I have to explain them back again. As you can see here, these are the 16 doubts which we are creating because we have Ayoniso Manasikara. We have the opposite of Yoniso Manasikara. Because of the Ayoniso Manasikara, unwise attention, we are getting caught up in one of these doubts, 16 doubts, so that we are going to create one of these 6 views. All right. The first view that we may create is called as I have self. This is called eternalism. How do we understand in our simple life? I have a self. That means when I die, I don't die. My body dies, I am existing. Right? Actually, our karmas are also always getting changed. So you cannot say, I will be reborn in that context. The everlasting changing, I is going to be reborn. Not I is going to be reborn. Because our, say for instance, at the moment of your death, let's say you have done a very massive good karma. You have done a large dana. Probably you have meditated. Maybe you have done a very interesting good karma, which let's say that we cannot say that, but we have done it. You know what it is. And then at the moment of your death, you are applying a negative emotion into that kusala. It can happen. Some people make kusala and then apply akusala into that. Interesting, right? They do the post-mortem after the good karma, right? when they do a big event, Katina, let's do, what happened? Who made the mistakes? Right? I mean, yes, of course, you have to do a review, but it's not in a way that you're trying to find fault, right? Even personally, if you have done something, try to look at the good side of, the brighter side of that good karma. Why we want to get caught up with that small, black dot? Probably it's a whiteboard and there's a small black dot. Why you want to run into that? Because the rest is all white, right? So we should be able to see the larger, broader picture of our good karma. But anyways, some people cannot make it. Because in Buddhism, we believe everyone is different. And everyone is supposed to learn Dhamma, but not everyone can learn Dhamma in that way. Right? Because if you say that everyone should be able to learn Dhamma, you are only seeing it from this life. But learning Dhamma is a sansaric activity. So we look at the sansara. But there may be a time, it's like a student who goes to the school. Not every student can be doctors. Not every student can even learn. Sometimes they drop out from the universities. So there are such things. So I'm trying to say that at the time of the death, or maybe before, even the good people, having looked at their good karmas that they had done before, they may apply some unnecessary negative meaning to that karma. Probably they might find a fault with that karma. So what happened? Now I'm telling you, some people might, I have done lots of good karma, so my next life is guaranteed. Right? That will be changed at that point. So karma is also always getting. So you create the first karma, then you are going to neutralize the power of the first karma by creating a second karma onto that. If so, then this idea that I have a self is definitely going to be null and void, because even the good karmas, even the bad karmas can be changed anytime. Because it's a skill to keep your mind on that and then to keep that good version all along, even in the samsara. So an idea to think that I exist and I have a self, that self, that self continues after the death is an idea that is coming to somebody who has ayoniso manasikara, unwise attention. That comes because of that person's taking of one of these doubts. Right? That is what it says. And the second view that such a person who has unwise attention might take is, I have no self, that myself, that I finish my everything at the end of this life. And you know that a lot of Abrahamic religions, they talk about as such. So I don't want to name them what it is, XYZ, Abrahamic religions. And also most of the religions, they talk about one life. So in Buddhism, it is called annihilationism, which means, which is like Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga. So the rough idea or primary idea of the Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga is, this is the only life, let's chill out, enjoy. We don't want to consider anybody else, Kama Sukha. And the self-modification is, I have a self, this self will have pain and pleasure, so I have to do something for that continuing self. That is the primary motive of Atthakilimatthana Yoga. So they are the ones that have come in different terms. Eternalism is self-modification. Annihilationism is Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga. Right? In Pali we call it Sassatavada. For the first one, there's a self exists that is going to next lives, and then there's no self at the end of this life. These two are very clear, I think, to all of us, because a lot of people might have, of course, I mean, the second view is taken up by many people in this world, because many of the religions that we know, they are promoting this idea. The first one is mostly Hindu idea, because the self exists like a leech. How the leech is taking another person's attraction is like the self exists after the death. All right, now the problem is with the rest of the, I think the first, second, 6 are okay. I think they are very clear to us. The 6 is also the same idea, like what you call eternalism, kind of eternalism. The problem is with the third, fourth, fifth views. Not many people can understand. So let me explain to you. The third view that someone may come up because of the ignorance is that I perceive self, true self. Can you understand that in simple language? All these words are really carrying a lot of, unknown ideas. Okay. Self, true self. How do we understand this? Take in the aggregate of perception, sanya. How many aggregates do we have? 5. What is an aggregate? No, what is an aggregate? Senses. Aggregate means now we understand that there are no people, no animals, no beings, but there are collections of 5 aggregates. So when you make a fist, you see that there is a fist. When you make your 5 fingers as a fist, you see that there is a fist. Other than that, they are individualistic. But these 5 aggregates are what we call by a being, right? So now the person who is caught up with one of those 16 views, the doubts, is going to come to this view in a way that he or she is trying to separate out sanya, perception aggregate, calling perception aggregate as self. What is sanya? Perception. What is perception? Perception. Not English perception, the philosophical perception. This is Dhamma perception. Sanya kanda. What is sanya kanda? You are making a note for the past and for the future. So that means you are labeling, naming, right? You are labeling somebody. You are labeling an event. You are naming an event, naming a person. So this process, labeling, naming, giving meaning to certain people, events, phenomena. So that happens through the support of sanya kanda. Now you have that sanya kanda. Everybody of us has sanya kanda. Animals, everybody has sanya kanda. Only one particular being has no sanya kanda. Who are they? One of the Brahma worlds. Asanya satta. They have it, because you can't say without sanya kanda someone can live, but it is such a very subtle version of sanya kanda. It is not gross, expanded. So now we as normal beings may use our sanya kanda to label, name us. My sanya kanda reflects a self. Okay, monastic, lay people, depending on your professions and wherever and whatever you do, and you are calling yourself a self depending on your whatever those manifestations. Being on that, having named you based on your manifestations, then you are also going to call Rupa, Vedana, Sankhara, Vijnana as self, Sanya as self, and other aggregates also as self. This is what we call by the third view. Right? So, these are minor modifications of the first two. So, you are going to, because you have sanya kanda as a being, so using that sanya kanda to label you, your whatever the manifestations, and then considering your other 4 aggregates as self. So, self. True sanya kanda, oneself, and then through other 4 khandas, oneself. But they are going to be joined together, and you are calling that you exist because these, you are using to say that you exist because of 2 aspects of the khandas. One is sanya kanda, the second part is other 4 khandas. Make sense? And the fourth view is that the opposite. Now you take the sanya kanda to say that you have a self, but you don't call the rest of the 4 khandas as self. That is little bizarre, there's no meaning, and you say that because of sanya kanda, because of that you are able to perceive yourself, you can give meaning to yourself, you can give meaning to other people. Basically for you, say, there is a self in me, but that self does not exist in my Rupa, Vedana, Sankhara, Vijnana. This is one of the ideas at that time of the time, especially Buddha's time. So some people did not believe that some khandhas display self. Only Sanya Khandha displays self. Right? The fifth one is the opposite. I perceive self, true non-self. Actually, the proper wording is not self, not non-self, not self. Anicca, dukkha, anatta, we call it not self. Because self exists at the conventional level, but the Buddha says self exists at the conventional level, but you cannot take it as self. So, not self. So, you can say non-self. The self exists. If self doesn't exist, who are you going to take care of in your own way? Who is going to beautify oneself? Who is going to be concerned about oneself? It's you. Self, but at the conventional level, but not at the ultimate level. So you are considering not to. Not that there is no self. You are considered, you do not consider. So, taking the aggregates other than aggregate of perception, that means Rupa, Vedana, Sankhara, Vijnana, as not self. There is no self attached to these four. And then you want to highlight to consider the aggregate of perception. So, the other way around. Same idea, the other way around. So, what we have to say is that there were such a philosophically messed up people at that time, you know. Such a, so see how they think about it, you know. The last view is that self of mind is constant, everlasting, eternal. Same, it's kind of an extension of the first view. That means you have, actually a lot of people have this thing. Even our so-called Buddhist. Why do I say so? When you ask them sometimes, why do you do good karma? Because next life, myself, you know, next life. So they have the eternalism because they believe that their self without any change is going to evolve, which is a view, wrong view, which comes to somebody who has ayoniso manasikara, unwise attention. Yes, there is something going out, traversing onto other lives with so many changes. Because everything in Buddhism is called with anicca. You cannot take any concept without anicca. But the thing is that a lot of things that are onto anicca are being taken as negative. Actually, a stupid person is going to be a wise person in one night. That is a change. Thanks to the concept of anicca. What about a wise person is going to be a stupid person by tomorrow morning? That's too bad, you know. So this concept called anicca is such a very interesting topic. Change, you know, the political people use that. Some political people's campaign is mostly on change, right? Even Barack Obama, you know, change. Oh, change. Anicca. So it's interesting to understand that we should never think that our good karmas are going to go to next lives without any change. They are always getting changed. Karmas are always getting mature. So we don't know how it will be exported onto the next life. Now say for instance, a very simple example. 5 people invite some monks, maybe go to a temple, monastery, and then offer dana. 5 people, 5 devotees. So they are offering the same thing. But out of 5, there is one devotee. If there is somebody who can understand what is happening to them in the next life, finds out there's one devotee who has created more karmas than other 4. But they offer the same thing, they spend the same time, but one person has made a lot of good karmas. How can that happen? Same good karma, but one person has created more good karmas by that activity. How does it happen? related to the anicca concept. Because there are people who might think I have to do better than the previous people. So then they think they have to do better, outsmart, emulate and all that. So I'm giving you a very simple example. The reason is that they know how to intensify chetana. Chetana has to be intensified. There's a minimal level of chetana. We call it abhidhamma javana. Javana. Okay, I can't show you here. Javana. Javana. So javana means chetana, volition. Now they came to the same temple with the same, probably the same food. They spend the same amount of money, probably same amount of time. But one person is intensifying the chetana about, because chetana is what? The karma, right? Not the physical activity, right? So that person has made up his or her mind to think big about the activity, not think as a cultural event, right? So interesting thing. So that means karmas can be changed anytime, right? All right. So these are the 6 views somebody who has ayoniso manasikara will have. So who are those unfortunate folks? Those who have not yet become sotapannas. Right? They are those sad folks, huh? Very unfortunate. They are creating lots of fool to the samsara. Anyways, now we are going to the next part of this conversation. What is the next part? This is unwise attention. Now, all this is related to unwise attention. How do we relate that? If you have unwise attention, you may have one of those 16 doubt, 1 or 2 or 16 doubt. Because you having those 16 doubt, one of these 16 doubt, you will come to one of these views, one of these 6 views. Now you have ayoniso manasikara. Today we are going to talk about yoniso manasikara. In order to discuss that, we go into the day 24. All right. Ayoniso manasikara was what we discussed last Monday and until now, because I just wanted to summarize it. Now, can I ask you this question? What is yoniso manasikara and what is ayoniso manasikara? What is manasikara? Manasikara? Attention. All right. Is attention automatic or you have to make an effort to make attention? Huh? I mean normal attention, not those wise attention. I'm asking manasikara. If manasikara is attention, I'm asking, is manasikara automatic or natural? Huh? Fully automatic? Huh? Partially automatic. Like a car, an automobile. Manasikara or attention is automatic. Who says so? Abhidhamma. As you can see here, these are the 7 factors, 7 mental factors, chetasikas, that are present in any thought, good or bad. You can see passa contact, vedana feeling, sanya perception, chetana volition. They say, now I always separate these two, early Buddhism and Theravada. Are they two or are they one? Huh? Are they one? Now, at the moment, by now, because when we do the research, when we do our scholarly activity, when we do our practitioner studies about the text, Dhamma Vinaya, Sutta Vinaya, Abhidhamma, maybe those 9 parts of the sasana we call Sutta Gaya Vyakarana Gata, Udana, and so on and so forth. Now we can clearly see that there is a certain pure area of the Buddha's Dhamma. We call it early Buddhism or Nikaya Buddhism. It is neither Theravada nor Mahayana. Don't get caught up with that. It is the basis to Mahayana and Theravada. Right? What are those areas, sections of the canon. Diga, Majjhima, Sangyutta, Anguttara. These are called as early Buddhism. Unadulterated, pure, we call it. So if you want to learn Dhamma, you have to learn from them, not from Abhidhamma, not from Pali commentaries. Right? Your primary reference is these four. If you go to Majjhima Nikaya, let's say Satipatthana Suttas. Digha Nikaya has the longer version, Majjhima Nikaya has the condensed version. Now you are still confused about Satipatthana. Then what will be your next point of reference? Satipatthana Sangyutta in the Sangyutta Nikaya. Another example. You are learning a lot of Sotapanna teachings. How to become a Sotapanna. What are the teachings? Majjhima Nikaya, Digha Nikaya. Now you still have doubts about certain things. Then what will be your point of reference? Sotapatti Sangyutta of the Sangyutta Nikaya. This is how it works. The Khuddaka Nikaya has certain pure teachings, but we have to refine them. This is how what we understand. So you could see kind of a doctrinal conflict here, because early Buddhism talks about that Chetana is voluntary, and there may be some actions that can go without Chetana, right? Isn't it? Now you are driving a car, you know that there may be tiny creatures on the road, and you just drive, unless you are not too much concerned about it. But Abhidhamma says, no, there's a volition in each action. It depends on the intensification of your volition. Let's say somebody is going to shoot someone, grabbing the gun and planning, masterminds and planning for a couple of years. That has the highest Chetana on the bad side. Somebody is planning a dana for many years, many months. That also has the highest level of intensification. Somebody can make up the mind very fast, even for a certain thing, in a good way. So Abhidhamma says, there is a Chetana attached to every activity. Not even Chetana. You can say, Ekaggata, even there is certain Samadhi. Actually, this is what you call by neutralized Samadhi, not the Samadhi that we know from the Samma Samadhi. That is an, what you call, effortful Samadhi. But this Ekaggata means there is a concentration in any thought, good and bad thought. So the good concentration is called Samma Samadhi, bad one is called Miccha Samadhi. And the neutralized, what you call, we call it ethically neutral Samadhi is called Ekaggata. That is what you see in the jhanas, Vitakka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekaggata. Jivitindriya is a new term. We don't see that in the suttas, Abhidhammic term. Abhidhamma says, when you are born with a Janaka Kamma, our born Kamma is Janaka Kamma. Like we are born, what you call, scale up the karmas. Some karmas can generate your next life. Some karmas can put you down the next life. Some karmas can develop, improve your next life. Some karmas are going to be null and void because of maybe you can be an arahant, maybe you do more good karmas. Maybe you have done good karmas, you do more bad karmas, so good karmas will be covered up by the bad karmas. Interesting, huh? So the regenerative karmas, let's say then I was born as a human. Once I was born with that certain karma, then what happens? My jivitindriya, life faculty, that means my ayu, lifespan, is dependent upon that particular karma. Once I was born, it goes away. Then I will have to go through the second, third level of karmas. Jivitindriya is what arises right after that regenerative Janaka Kamma goes away. Janaka Kamma makes us be born, and then Jivitindriya takes up from that point. So Abhidhamma thing. Then you see Manasikara, attention. In Abhidhamma it says every thought has what? Any kind of attention. Not specified, good or bad. Now, I ask you whether Manasikara is automatic or whether you have to do it, whether you have to, as you would, manual or whatever, you know, with the Manasikara manual. So whether you have to make an effort to make Manasikara. Manasikara is natural. There is a certain attention to anything. Even you are distracted, you have an attention about the distracted object. You might say, oh, I'm distracted, but there is a certain attention that goes to that distracted object. Then, Yoniso Manasikara has to be understood within this context. Yoniso Manasikara means wise attention. It is not automatic. It is not natural. So you have to do certain things. Now that is what we're going to learn here. Let's see. 4 factors according to the Buddha can facilitate the attainment of the Noble Eightfold Path. I would say you are going to become a Sotapanna. First thing is establishing connections with noble friends. How do we know in Pali? Kalyana Mittas. Kalyana Mittata. Why can we do a solo practice? You just close your door, house door, and you do your meditation in your room. Why do other people matter to my practice? Why? Why can't I practice by myself? Self-motivation is not enough. You are initially coming up with a self-motivation. I have to become so. I have to do more. But it is not enough. Because in order for you to deepen your practice, you need lots of support. Mental, emotional support. Right? That's why you say you've been practicing well, somebody blame you today morning. Everything went bad after that. Went haywire. So we need support from Kalyana Mittas. Who is a Kalyana Mitta? Huh? The one who is giving you a right to the sutta discussion? Right. Who is a Kalyana Mitta? I think I already explained to you last time. Who is it? The one who always speaks good words. No musavada, no parusavacha, no pisunavacha, no sampapalapa. In English, no lying, no carrying tales, slandering, backbiting, and no using harsh words to hurt you, and then no gossiping. Probably there may be someone who has the diminished, very low version of these 4, because we may be some people who might be into those in a different way, but they may have a very reduced version of them. And then the same person who is thinking good thoughts. Whatever the thoughts that come up in that person's mind are not greedy thoughts or non-greedy thoughts, not ill will, and no michaditthi kind of thing. No, what is sammaditthi. And whatever the actions that person is doing, they are going to be not killing, always trying to take care of other people, always trying to take care of what other people have, always trying to behave well. And this is a Kalyana Mitta, not the one who is giving you a ride. Such a person may give you a ride, but fundamentally that person has to have these 3 layers. So we need those people. We need those people for this practice. Not by reading a book or a sutta can do the whole job. We need those people. The Buddha said we need at least 2 Kalyana Mittas. This is sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya or Samyutta Nikaya. Another sutta. Then the Buddha said, don't worry about one Kalyana Mitta. You all have that one Kalyana Mitta. Who is that? The Buddha. Because of the Buddha, we are learning. But the second Kalyana Mitta, you have to find. Right? You have to find that person. First requirement, if you want to become a Sotapanna and so forth, is having noble friends. Second, hearing the true Dhamma. True Dhamma. Why? Is there Adhamma also now? Are there some Adhamma teachings come in the form of good Dhamma? Yes. How can we know Adhamma? How can we decide that this is not the true Dhamma? So we should have a certain reading about the text. Then of course you understand this is not what we learn, what we understand from. So there are people who may have their own self-opinionated, teachings about Dhamma. It's not the Dhamma, it's what they think about Dhamma. That's going to be bad. That's going to be not true Dhamma. So you have to have that thing. Third one is wise attention. Yoniso Manasikara. See how important is this. Wise attention, which we're going to learn today. Then the fourth one is practicing in accordance with the Dhamma. You learn something, you should be able to practice the same thing. Wise attention is the most crucial of these 4 elements. We will learn that. It enables us to surpass the level of an ordinary person, putujjana, by overcoming the 5 obstacles, 5 hindrances, and cultivating the 7 factors of enlightenment. Actually, in Buddhism, we have to think about only 2 things. Overcoming the 5 hindrances and develop the 7 bodhichangas. And then you are creating all the rest of the good qualities. What is yoniso manasikara? What is yoniso? Yoniso, origin. Now, wise is a meaning given to the higher meaning of that particular term. But yoniso, the literal meaning of yoniso means origin. Because we are not seeing things from the origin. We are seeing things from the middle of that problem. Then more problems are still left up over there. We don't even take them to the table. Right? Why? Maybe people are lazy, people are very conceited, very arrogant. So they don't want to discuss it, at large. Yoniso means origin. You can see. Tracing dukkha down to its origin. We have to trace the dukkha down to its origin. It could go backward, it could go forward. What is backward and forward? Paticcasamuppada. If we really want to understand dukkha, we have to bring paticcasamuppada. In paticcasamuppada, we have to trace backward, trace forward. When we trace backward, we end up with avijja. When we trace forward, we end up with jara marana. This is the process. So if you really want to understand paticcasamuppada, then you should need yoniso manasikara. Otherwise, how you go back and forth? We will learn more. Wise attention means that when we investigate dukkha, are we investigating our own dukkha? Do you do that? Or you take dukkha as happiness? Some people say, what to do? Let's take dukkha as my own happiness. Right? Because if you give the meaning, then it will become more dukkha. All right. Wise attention means that when we investigate our dukkha, what is dukkha? It is not suffering actually. Dissatisfaction. You are not happy about something. Just because you are unhappy, you cannot call it always suffering. It's a Christian Catholic translation done by the 18th century scholarship by the Parity Society in London. Now we are understanding the non-Protestant version of this Dhamma, Most of the translation done by these early scholars, thanks to them, that was the time that we didn't have these texts, so they brought texts from Sri Lanka back to England, and then they, transcribed and did. But now we understand these translations are not good. There are issues. How do we know that there are issues? When you get to think in Pali, then you find the problems. When you think in English, no problem. You see, it is a discussion in English, among English translations. Now one example is, Evang me sutang, ekang samayam bhagava savatyang, etc., etc. Now, evam me sutang, ekang samayam. Samayam means, time. Once upon a time. Who added this part? This was added by the monks. They are trying to tell us the story. Now this is a reporter's speech. Now the Pali word samaya has 9 meanings. 9 meanings. So if you go to a dictionary and say, samaya means this, and then you think you are good. So you cannot do that. You don't know the contextual meaning. What does samaya mean in this sentence, in this paragraph? So how do we understand them in a better way? We have to think in Pali. How can we think in Pali? Do we have to go to a Pali class? I think some of you do. Do we have to learn Pali one by one? What do they learn? Manusso rukkhamha patati. The man falls from the tree. I mean, this is their Pali, So you are going to learn the language. You are wasting your time. That's why you need to follow a good teacher. The good teacher has done the research, everything. That is why the Buddha said here, hearing the true Dhamma If everybody can learn Pali and everything, why did the Buddha say you have to hear, listen to Dhamma talks? And it is mandatory to become a Sotapanna. The Buddha knew not many people can, almost all people cannot follow this as a language. Even you learn the language, you cannot understand the context, like the English, some of the English, particular English works. Right? That's why the Buddha said, listening to Dhamma is mandatory. Some people say, I don't listen to Dhamma talk, I do meditation. Separating out. No, there is no meditation without Dhamma talk. Your meditation is within your Dhamma. You cannot separate out. You can separate in the West. In the West, meditation is just a 10-minute, 1 hour relaxation kind of thing. And you can't teach them Sila. Right? They say, why are you going to tell me what to do, what not to do, and what to do? That is my thing, Don't tell me that. I know many monks are struggling in the West, teaching Westerners meditation, What a pity. So, Sila is not important because the Western society does not accept that because they don't like to pinpoint one's own. So when you don't have Sila, how come you meditate? You lied today morning, probably, did something else, so that will pop up in your mind at night. Because it's not a relaxation meditation. It is something where you understand your own dukkha. In order for you to understand dukkha, you should be able to have a certain... I was trying to tell you that it is very important to learn Pali in Pali. So you have to be able to think in Pali. In order to do this, you need to learn a couple of suttas about one topic. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why in my sutta discussions, I tell you, read this, read that, read this, so you have a collaborative knowledge about what it is. So you have a better understanding, right? All right. So once again, wise attention means that when we investigate dukkha, we trace dukkha down to its cause, origin. We do so thoroughly, orderly, wisely, properly, and judiciously. This is the purpose. So, one simple example, let's say you are going through a bad time. Maybe you are diagnosed with a disease, right? So you don't like it, but it happened to you. So how do you understand this experience? So you are trying to investigate your own dukkha, tracing that dukkha down to its origin. Why it happened to me? Why it didn't happen to others? Why it happened to me? So you are trying to universalize. You are looking at the cause, conditions, and effects of that experience. How do you do that? This yoniso manasikara. Because of the yoniso manasikara, you are going to think that I have to trace my dukkha down to its origin. At most, I'm going to use Patisamuppada. I'm going to bring wise attention to Patisamuppada. Trace backward and trace forward. Because dukkha is the main concept of Patisamuppada, right? Starting from avijja or asava, right? What is the first cause of Patisamuppada? The first cause of Patisamuppada? Avijja is not the first cause. No, the first cause is mutually dependent. So you cannot pinpoint, highlight one cause. Avijja and asava, they are mutually constructive. We call anyamanya sahajata pacchaya. Avijja was caused by taints or asavas. Asavas caused by avijja. So picking up avijja as the first cause is wrong. This is according to what we call one sutta, Nidana Sangyutta of Sangyutta Nikaya. So, but we normally take avijja, but avijja is not the first cause. How come it can become a first cause? Every effect has a cause. If avijja is the effect, avijja must have been made by something else. That is asava. Right? So anyway, so this investigative mentality is wise attention. You're going to go back and also going to go forward. Then you're going to understand because of avijja, this and this arose. And finally, I am down to jara marana. Let's proceed. Yoniso manasikara is not a philosophical speculation, but reflection built on observation, seeking to understand how things originate through conditions. I think you understand. This part we already discussed. Manasikara is not is automatic, natural, but not yoniso manasikara. All right. Before we go to this section, I'm going to the sutta. All right. So we have done up to this point. This point is where we discuss about the 6 views. Now we are going to talk about yoniso manasikara. This is what you are practicing as the first method to overcome your own akusalas. Let's see. Sutava chako, page number 4. If you cannot read, you can read your own papers. Page number 4. Sutava chako bhikkhave arya savako ariyanang dassavi arya dhammasako vido arya dhamme suvinito. Now there is someone called Arya Savako. Who is Arya Savako? Arya, noble disciple. Can we call as Arya Savaka? Are we Putujjanas? Arya Savaka has a very confused definition. Sometimes it is said Arya Savaka is a Sotapanna. Sometimes it is said someone who is on the path to become a Sotapanna. Right? So it is not very much clear in the text. But normally, because the reason why I am saying is that now here it says Arya Savaka does this and that. Here at the end, before we jump into the second one, as you can see here. So idang dukkhanti yoniso. Now the Arya Savaka is going to wisely attend to the first noble truth, second, third, fourth noble truth, and then going to eradicate the first 3 fetters. Right? Now, the person who is practicing this is already called Arya Savaka, but he is still yet to overcome the first 3 fetters. That means this Arya Savaka is not someone who has already attained Sotapanna. So probably, no, not probably, that's a bad word. This person, Arya Savaka, means someone who is on the path to become a Sotapanna. Right? On the path, so we all can be taken that way. But let's see more things over here. Now, Sutava chako bhikkhave. Why Arya Savaka is always Sutava? Sutava means well instructed, learned one. That means if you really want to become a Sotapanna, you must listen to the Dhamma talks. You should listen to Dhamma. Listening is very important. You may listen to different speakers, sometimes untrue Dhamma, but still you have to carry on that practice until you hear from the right person, like how the Bodhisattvas did. Right? How do you differentiate good and bad, true and untrue Dhamma? Only by having a practice of listening to others. Right? So that is why it is said, someone who is going to be Sotapanna is already someone who is listening to Dhamma, and then that person is Ariyanam Dassavi, always like seeing the noble ones, who is already Sotapannas, who is talking about Sotapanna. Arya Dhamme Suvinito. Also, that person is very disciplined in the Dhamma. That means discipline is very important if you really want to become a Sotapanna. What kind of discipline is this? Sila. Sila is important. Don't end up in Sila, but some Sila is important. Right? Because without Sila, you cannot go to become a Sotapanna. Then, not even Aryas. Sappurisa Dhammasa Kovidu, Sappurisa Dhamme Suvinito. So these are not two people. Sappurisa is also Aryas. What is Sappurisa? A good human being. This is the idea. Right? A good human being. Sappurisa means. Who is a good human being? Kalyana Mitta. Right? Kalyana Mitta, and those who always talk good words, act on good actions, and then think good thoughts. So now, even though these two, people have been given two separately, two differently, but they both talk about one person, Aryas. Then, Manasikaraniye dhamme pajanati, amanasikaraniye dhamme pajanati. Now, the person who is going to become a Sotapanna, we call him or her as Arya Savaka, knows what to give attention to, what not to give attention to. Is it important for us to think about what should I give attention to, what should I not give attention to? Very important, because we always give attention to all the good and bad at the same time. Now this person who is on the path to become a Sotapanna knows that I have to do a, I have to do a certain filtration in my attention. My attention should not give to ayoniso manasikara things that I should not give attention to. We will talk about what they are later here. So manasikaraниye dhamme pajanatu, amanasikaraniye dhamme pa. So having understood what to give attention to, what not to give attention to. Ye dhamma na manasikaraniya, te dhamma na manasikara. That person will never give attention to unwise things that are up to unwise attention. Ye dhamma manasikaraниya, te dhamme manasikaru. That person gives attention to things that should be given attention. Now the next paragraph will say what are those areas of attention, good attention, bad, wise and unwise. Katamecha bhikkave dhamma na manasikaraниya ye dhamme na manasikarot yassa bhikkave dhamme manasikarotu anuppannova kāmāsava uppati. When you think about, when you give attention to certain things, your unarisen karma arises. That is so sad. Huh? You didn't have karma, now because you given attention to unnecessary things, some unknown karmas are going to come up. Right? Then you have to think of where were those karmas before. But now you feel like these karmas are coming up. Then uppannova kāmāsava uppavatati. We all have certain karmas. Those karmas going to be multiplied, quadruple and all that. That is too sad. Huh? You were a good person, now you're going to become someone different. Why is it? You have given attention to unwise things. Right? Now this is one example, karma. Then anuppannova bhavāsava uppajjati, uppannova bhavāsava pavattati. Whenever you give attention to certain things, those influxes, asavas about next life, those asavas about next life that you didn't have going to come up, and the asavas that you had about the next life will be multiplied, magnified. What is bhavasava? Like in the next life. Right? I mean, giving a lot of thoughts about the next life, because you see, this is one of the doubts, thinking about the next life a lot. Right? I remember somebody who was asking me a long time ago in Canada, Bhante, how can someone become a beetle in next life? I said, why you are so much worried about? No, I'm just concerned about how can someone become a beetle. I said, it depends on your intention and how do you make your final thought. And then he kept asking me about why someone can become a beetle. I said, if you are so thoughtful about this beetle thing, and if you die now, you'll become a beetle. Oh, no. I'm going to actually drop that idea. So if something is so bothering you, and this is something unnecessary, you can think about becoming a good person, not a beetle, not an ant, right? So this is something attached to next life, what will happen to me. If you are a good person, the rest will take care of you. Why you are worrying about it? It is to me that there is a rain, there is a torrential rain, you are going to water the plants in your garden. Is it necessary? There is water already. And the garden gets lots of water and you are going to water. So I think it's a mismanagement of what you have, what you are supposed to do. And those people who are very much concerned about next life by doing dana also fall into this category. I do dana, so next life, see, I'll be like that. So that is also bhavasava, right? So whenever you do a good thing with that bhavasava, unarisen bhavasavas going to come up, your existing bhavasavas go up. Very unnecessary, right? If you want to do the dana, just do the dana. Don't make thoughts like that. And then the last one is avijjāsava. Sometimes when you give attention to certain things, those unarisen level of avijja, we all have avijja, that's why we are reborn like this. We haven't yet become enlightened, if that is so. But when you give attention to certain things, some unarisen, non-existing avijja will arise. Right? What is the non-existing avijja? That means you are okay at the moment, but because of you giving attention to unnecessary things, some different levels of non-existing avijja will be manifesting because of that. Also, the existing avijja will go up and become multiplied. Why is it? Because you are giving attention to unnecessary things. We call it, you are having unwise attention. If you are giving wise attention, your karma asavas that you don't have will not come up. The existing karma asavas will not go up. The what you call inactive bhavasavas will not go up. Active bhavasavas will go down. Inactive avijjasavas will not come up, arise, and active avijjasavas will not go up. So it's pretty clear. It's because of wise attention and unwise attention. Then it is the same thing over here. Tassa amanasikaraniyang dhammanang amanasikara manasikaraniyang dhammanang manasikara anupanna cheva asavana uppajjana. Now this is the method how you going to see your own akusalas through wise attention, so that you are going to overcome certain unnecessary asavas in this method, through this method. Asavana uppajjanti uppannacha asava pahiyanti. Finally, this is the most important part of this first method. So, idang dukkhanti yoniso manasikaroti. Now you will understand something very interesting. In our previous sutta study about Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, we already talked about Tiparivatta Dwadasakara, Four Noble Truths. And I don't know whether you have thought about this before. In understanding each noble truth, you need a good amount of wise attention. Without wise attention, you cannot relate your dukkha experience to the first noble truth. The origin of your dukkha experience to the second noble truth. And the cessation of the dukkha into the third noble truth and the fourth noble. So Buddha says, when you have wise attention, you can see the first noble truth, second noble truth, third noble truth, fourth noble truth, in the best possible way. And then you are going to initially overcome sakkaya ditthi vicikicca silappata parama. I mean, if you want to become a sotapanna, you must use wise attention to see the first, second, third, fourth noble truth. All right, then we are going into the notes again here. Right. So this is something very interesting. I have quoted some of the other suttas about wise attention, so that you will understand wise attention in a broader way. Gautama Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 12.10. In this sutta, Buddha says something very interesting. Before my enlightenment, while I was still a bodhisattva, it occurred to me, alas, this world has fallen into trouble. What world is that? This world. What is this world? Continents? Sansaric world. What world has fallen into trouble? Our internal khandhas, 5 khandhas. Buddha does not talk about the continents. It is not his focus. Right? Remember that story, Rohitassa story? Right? Very interesting story. The Rohitassa was a Devaputta. So one day he approached the Buddha and he said, Bhante, I was a very powerful, jhanic, highly, energetic jhanic yogi in my previous life. So I thought, through the jhanas, I want to go to the end of this universe. Not the world, universe. Right? So one world, now this is only one world in Buddhism. There are many thousand galaxies. Right? 10,000 galaxies. So then what happened? He thought, except for going to the washroom and eating, I have to travel to the end of the world. And he was trying to tell the Buddha his speed. So when I set one foot on the eastern ocean, the other foot was on the western ocean. But what happened to me? After some time, I passed away. on the journey to find the end. The Buddha said, you cannot find the end of the universe. Right? It is so infinite. It's a futile, useless effort. Then I tell you, the real world exists in you, within you. What do you mean by within you? The Buddha said, in this one fathom body with perception, I tell you that there is the first noble truth, second noble truth, third noble truth, fourth noble. That means, where are these four noble truths? Now you meditate, you do practice, your purpose is to understand the four noble truths. But where are they? Are they outside of your body? Are they in a temple? Are they with the monk? Are they with the book? Are they on the internet? They are in this one fathom body within you. So you have to dispel the darkness of ignorance from that mental body, not the physical body. It is not in your liver. It's not in your liver or maybe heart. It is in your mental body, which has Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So you have to dispel the darkness within these aggregates, then to find out this Four Noble Truths. So that world, that internal world has fallen into trouble. Yes, in that it is born, ages, dies. That means Jati, Jara, Marana. So then here you can see, when will an escape be discerned from this dukkha led by aging and death, Jara, Marana? Then because it occurred to me, when what exists does aging and death come to be? By what is Jara, Marana conditioned? The cause of Jara, Marana and the conditioning of Jara, Marana. Then because true wise attention, there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. So he was able to understand this problem through wise attention, Yoniso Manasikara. Such a very interesting thing. That means even the Buddha as a Bodhisattva could understand that I have to end my dukkha by becoming a Buddha because of this Yoniso Manasikara's appearance in his mental body. So what more? When there is, and the Buddha says, so and so forth. That means in the Gautama Sutta, Buddha says, because of wise attention, it triggered out in my mental body that I have to end this. I could understand it as a breakthrough in my wisdom. Second, Yoniso Manasikara Sampada Sutta. The Buddha says that wise attention is what you call, is preceded, okay, I would say, Noble Eightfold Path is preceded by the wise attention. That means if you don't have wise attention, Yoniso Manasikara, you will never be able to practice Samadhi and so on and so forth. So wise attention is the first. Titiya Sutta says something interesting. Anguttara Nikaya 3.69. The Buddha described unwise attention, Ayoniso Manasikara, as the cause of the three unwholesome roots, Lobha, Dosa, Moha. Now, why? Now, we always talk about we have Lobha, Dosa, Moha, three poisons, whatever. They arise because we have Ayoniso Manasikara. Very interesting. This is a daily thing, because you hear a lot of Dhamma talks about Lobha, Dosa, Moha. Nobody talks about why they appear. They might say because you are an enlightened person, you have Lobha, Dosa, Moha. The reason is not because you are just an unenlightened person. It is because you don't have wise attention. That's why you come up with Lobha, Dosa, Moha. Ahara Sutta. This is a long one, but I will take one example on the both side. Hindrances side and then the Bojjhanga side. Let's take one hindrance. Kamachanda. And what is the food for the arising of unarisen Kamachanda? Now you may not have that Kamachanda. But why it appears? Because Buddha always believes that behind any akusala there is some food. Because of that food, that akusala rose. Now this akusala is for unarisen Kamachanda, or for the growth and increase of Kamachanda once it has arisen. There is the theme of beauty to foster unwise attention to it. Now you might call, because I like it. It is not that you like it, because you want to give unwise attention to that beauty. Then the second one, Vyapada. Unarisen ill will, Vyapada. Now there is no ill will you have already. unarisen, inactive, you may have certain other ill will. Why it arises? There is the theme of resistance, that means anger, whatever, hate, but most importantly, you are giving unwise attention to that ill will. That is why it is continuing with you. That means this is really mattering to us. It is not the beauty, it is not the hate. You might call it, you have so much karma. It is not you have so much karma. It is because you are giving a lot of unwise attention to your own karma. It is not that you have hatred. It is because you are daily giving unwise attention to your hatred. It matters. Let's take the third one, tina mitta. There are boredom, weariness, yawning, drowsiness. Don't yawn, drowsiness after a meal, sluggishness, awareness. And to give unwise attention to those activities, functions. So that means unwise attention is what keeps you doing the bad things. I would say evil things. It is not the primary negative thing that you have. It is what you give to that particular bad thing. That is called ayoniso manasikara. Now let's see how a wise person is giving wise attention to the bojjhangas. Opposite side. The first one, sati bojjhanga. Sati, dhammavichaya, virya, piti, pasati, samadhi, upekka. 7 bojjhangas. Now, what is the food for the arising of unarisen mindfulness? Do we have something called unarisen mindfulness? Have you ever thought about unarisen mindfulness? You might say, I have mindfulness, I want to develop it in a retreat. Now, Buddha talks about unarisen mindfulness. That means you have mindfulness, but not yet arisen. So you have to give food to arising, let it arise as a factor of awakening, bojjhanga. And for the growth and increase of sati as a factor of bojjhanga, there are mental qualities that act as a foothold for mindfulness. As a factor of awakening, you can see well-purified virtue, sila and all that, to foster wise attention to them. That means whenever you are in a retreat, now the Bhantes or whoever giving you instructions about sati, this is how you do sati and all that. Once you learn that this is sati, then you have to give wise attention to sati. Let's say you know metta, loving kindness. You have to give wise attention to metta. You know upekka, maybe a very simple one. Karuna, compassion. You know karuna is good, but why karuna is running out from you? Because you are not giving wise attention to karuna. Right. And what other examples? I would say mudita. Everybody knows that we have to be happy when other people get going in their lives, achievements. But why we cannot stay in that emotion, in that mental state? Because we know it, in the second moment we are giving unwise attention to that. That means we are not happy about it. Then once we gave wise attention, okay, this is good, I have to give my wise attention to this particular person who has been winning, achieving, get going in his or her life, then all the secondary subsequent thoughts about that achievement will be fulfilling on your side. Wise attention. So, why you are struggling with dukkha? Because you are giving unwise attention to dukkha. Why you are not struggling with your dukkha? Dukkha sometimes is unavoidable. It's not a problem to us. It is the meaning that you give to the dukkha. That means unwise attention to dukkha is the problem. So when you give wise attention, then you don't consider it as dukkha anymore, because you know what. Now, say for instance, someone becomes a sotapanna. Just because that person becomes a sotapanna, is the physical pain going away? Can sotapannas not get cancers? They still get it. But the way how they look at it is changed. That is the $1 million thing in that. So that means suffering, whatever the physical pain still exists. But that person gives the proper meaning to that with wise attention. Now we have dukkha and we give wise attention to that, unwise attention to dukkha. So we have 2 dukkhas now, mental pain and the physical pain. For sotapannas, they only have the physical pain, even for arahants. as you can see in the Bojjhanga Suttas. All right, so finally, Gosa Sutta. Monks, there are these two conditions for the arising of Micchaditti, wrong view, which two? The voice of another and unwise attention. The voice of another, Parato Gosa. That means listening to other people can give you Micchaditti. Is it possible? Yes, how many people getting caught up with misbeliefs in the world? Huh? Especially some of the new movements about life. People can brainwash others very fast for the bad things. Huh? I heard in a different country and a place, children don't like to learn good things from Buddhism. But when they talk about Angulimala, really? That kind of a person can attain Nibbana. Angulimala. They would like to learn that. They are giving lots of attention to Angulimala and Alavakas and all that, But they don't talk about the good ones. No. They might not exist, So think about how to revamp your Dhamma school curriculum. These children might, because they are with violent games and all that, they might think it differently. Anyways, so listening to others can give you Micchaditti or Sammaditthi and unwise attention. So Ayoniso Manasikara. Actually, when you hear the false Dhamma, then if you give attention to the false Dhamma, you have Micchaditti. At the same time, you have Ayoniso Manasikara. On the other hand, monks, there are these two conditions for the arising of right view. Now, this is what we want. This is what we've been discussing in the last sutta discussion. Which two? The voice of another, listening to the true Dhamma, and wise attention. Yoniso Manasikara and Paratogosa. These are the two conditions for the arising of right view. That means if anybody of you is still suspicious, concerned about why I don't have Sammaditthi yet, maybe there's a lack of wise attention. Try to give more meaning to your wise attention. Give wise attention to Sati, Dhamma, Vichaya, Virya, Passaddhi, Samadhi, Upekka. Right? And also give wise attention to all the other negativities. Then Ayoniso Manasikara will go away. You will have the perfect state of mind, and then you are easily going on to the Noble Eightfold Path, Sammaditthi and so forth. All right, any questions about today? So we are finishing the first method today, and then not next week. So we're going to be doing this in January, the second method. I think there are a lot of things to think about the first method. So please give your readings. Don't just come without reading, without learning what you learned today. Give lots of reading, ask any questions. Asking questions is very important. Otherwise you might take it wrongly, right? So please read more and more, and then we can easily understand the second method. Second method is overcoming certain akusalas by guarding your senses. Your eyes, ears, nose. It's a big deal. A lot of akusalas can be, not everything, but a lot of akusalas can be tamed and then overcome by being restrained, I would say, watching your senses. All right, any questions about the first method and Sabbasava Sutta as a whole? Yes.
Also, Bhante, just now you mentioned that when we think about, let's say, future like what will I become, what will I be, yeah. So, but that is so. I mean, that one it will be very difficult because it's under bhava asava. So, I mean, in this life, it's very difficult to eradicate that. I mean, it means that it can only be many lives. So I'm trying to think that, okay, on this restraint right to our karma asava, to our senses. But if it don't come to my senses, let's say if I think right in the mind.
No, if you can overcome bhavasava, then you will become an arahant outright.
Yeah.
Outright you become an arahant. Now the thing is that at least we have to keep it to a minimum. Idea is that. You might go into other lives, but at least you keep it to a minimum. Now, if you don't tell people that, they will not keep it to a minimum. Because now with some meritorious activities, people might fall into a lot of bhavasavas. Right? So it is not it might not be a one life thing, but at least we tell them, it's like become a sotapanna. Now when we ask people, what is your last thought? What do you think? What do you want to think? Let's say the doctor say you have only 5 minutes. What do you want to think about? Are they your family members or whatever you couldn't achieve? No, I want to become, maybe I'm not a sotapanna, but I want to become a sotapanna. That intention is important. Now here, intention of not creating more bhavasavas is important during the lifetime and even the last moment. So that is just a, I would say, precaution, kind of a, what do you call, guidance to think what to think about the next life, right? That is just a precaution for the next life, not to create lots of plans for the future lives in this way and that way, because we don't know how and what will happen to us. And I want to add something. There's a sutta called Maha Kamma Vibhanga Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. This is a very interesting sutta for this question. In this sutta, the Buddha says there are 4 people. There is one person who is a good person, but after this person passes away, this person is going to be reborn in a good place. The second person is a bad person. After the death, that bad person is going to be reborn in a bad place. Now these are no problems. The last 2 are the problem. There's a good person after the death going to be reborn in a hell. And there's a bad person who is going to be reborn in a heaven, a good place. Now how the last 2 phenomena happen? It is because of the last thought. Right? Last thought. If you are unmindful about at the moment last thought, then you will be reborn in those places. So we cannot guarantee anything. But we also don't know what time we're going to die, and it is not something we should be worried about also. There are people who are talking about how to die mindfully. Yeah? Do we know? Such a useless topic. Huh? That's not going to work. But what we can say is, you will die, for sure. But this is what you are thinking. So whenever you die, it's okay. You will die peacefully, mindfully. So you're going to think about that I want to become a sotapanna. When you think about I want to become a sotapanna, all the negativities will go away from that point onwards. Right? It has satipatthana, it has all the better Dhamma teachings attached to that. So I would say the idea of saying we have to think that we should not create more thoughts about the future lives is to keep us to a minimum about those thoughts. Those thoughts are because we don't know what will happen to us after we die. But if you are a good person, definitely you become a good person. But don't try to classify your next life. If you're going to classify your next life, then you will create bhavasavas.
Okay, Bhante, one last question. I mean, on this sutta, right? I mean, there's a commentary from different Bhante or different monks. So, if the doubt arises in me, like, okay, because I understand sometimes there's a contradicting on the commentary. So, I mean, from what's your advice? They say, which is the so-called or which commentary I should follow? Because I mean,
Commentary.
Yeah, I mean that for instance, like the Asavas Sutta you got from Bhikkhu Bodhi. I mean from
You mean English translation?
English translation. So I mean for us, because our Pali is not that good. So which of the commentary should we use? I mean,
first thing I want to tell all of you is try to think in Pali. All these translations carry issues, even this translation. So I'm not looking at the translation. I'm trying to look at Pali stuff, because I can manage, and I'm going to teach you that thing way, But some translations are better, like the Bhikkhu Bodhi's one are better, but still you might not notice that because you haven't learned Pali from that beginning. Still, we have to think about a good translation, because English, otherwise we will end up with English meanings, right? Yes. So Bhikkhu Bodhivansa is okay, better than all these translations. But still, if you have a question, you have to ask, you have to follow. That's why we are doing Sutta studies. That's why you might understand, right? Now, for the wise attention, some people translate appropriate attention. What is appropriate? Huh? So this is the issue. Now we call it wise because we know what is wise. What is wise? Wise is tracing dukkha down to its origin. Going backward in the Parisampada, going forward in the Parisam. Do people talk about that with Yoniso Manasikara? I don't think so. They say wise reflection. Wise has a lot of meanings in English. That's why, so I can say that is a good translation, but try to learn it under a teacher who has some understanding about the Pali, right? Otherwise, people might pick one meaning of Samaya, there are 9 meanings, and think that this is correct. All right, any more questions about today? The first method.
I actually have a side question rather than about today, but it's related. I read somewhere that, the Buddha, right, managed to, in a way, in a mental process, in his mental process, he shuts down the process one by one to its origin, right? And then from there, he restart again the mental process, and that's how he could observe how, what is described here, how one thing leads to another. Now, when he starts to observe the process from the beginning, who is actually observing that process? Because probably at that stage, the intellectual mind has not yet been activated. You are talking about right at the beginning of the mental process. But yet he could actually observe that process. So the thing is, who is actually observing that process when the intellectual part of the brain
now
what
you are referring to is a very unique activity that a Buddha and another Arahant can do. We call it Nirodha Samapatti. It is not a normal experience that none of us is going to experience. But your problem is that if he is going to subdue perceptions and feelings, who is going to
observe that? Yeah, because
then we have to go to the Pali.
Down, there's nothing left, right?
Yeah.
So
this is a struggling between English words actually. Let me tell you. Now, we have to learn this from Pali. So, what it says is that he subdues Sanya and Vedana for a short time. And what about his Sankhara and Vijnana?
I thought he shut down everything.
Yes, they are still with him. No, not the whole mental body that he can, because he has to live first. But he is temporarily withdrawing himself from perception and then feelings. Even Arahants can do that. Actually, you know why they are doing that? They want to know what is the happiness when they pass away. Now, Nibbana has 2 types of happiness. One is the happiness from this life, sansaric life. Next is what will happen to me after I die. That is why they try it. So then they understand they can stay for a week without sanya and vedana, without perceptions and sensations, feelings. So it's a very unique, very case-specific incident. So if you are concerned about who is going to experience that, a being who still has consciousness, vijnana, and now in Buddha's case he has no sankharas, so he has consciousness. So he's still living. That living being is going to, but that living being can manages his perceptions and feelings. So there is someone who is experiencing that.
So that means the whole mental process is not shut down. It's just selectively shut down.
It's a partial shutdown.
So he shut down here and observe. It's a
temporary partial shutdown of temporary. It's a temporary thing where you see a partial shutdown of certain mental elements, perceptions and feelings only.
So it's not the whole thing that shuts down.
Then you have to die. If you talk about a complete shutdown, that one has to die.
Well, he's the Buddha.
There's no Buddha anymore then, I mean, the living Buddha.
I see.
All right?
Okay. So
Actually, it's very good even for us sometimes. We might not do in that way. Now you just think most of the problems come from perceptions. Because I give, this guy is a bad guy, yeah. A lot of problems come to me. I have to then manage, overcome. This is such a good person. Then the good person can become a bad person in couple of days. So we are struggling with sannyas a lot, perceptions a lot. And the feelings, this is aching and my back pain, knee pain, that pain I have. So if we can, minimize, diminish our sanya and vedana in our unenlightened life also, we might feel a certain happiness. But the Buddha can do it in a very different way, unique way. But answer is that he still has consciousness. So it's not a full, complete shutdown. All right.
Thank you.
I think that's all. And if you have any questions, so please send me through WhatsApp. You may have some other questions. So yes, I hope there are no more questions. So we will transfer the good karmas. May all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today be transferred to all the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. If the departed ones were reborn in a place of Kama Dukati, may they be able to release from those Kama Dukatis. Kama Dukati means woeful states, painful states in the Kama worlds. If they are reborn in a place of Kama Sugati, like Deva or Manusa, may they be able to improve their life, at the same time learn more Dhamma, practice more Dhamma. Finally, may they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñāteyu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñāteyu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñāteyu. May Deva, Naga, Mahidika share all these good karmas. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of you for good health, quality of life, prosperity, safety in particular. May they bless you for your Dhamma journey, a consistent, smooth Dhamma journey. May Deva, Naga, Mahidika finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sangpadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sangpadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Akasattha cha bhummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu lokasasanang. Akasattha cha bhummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu desanang. Akasattha cha bhummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mang paranti chirang rakkhantu tvang sadati. In this sansaric journey, may we be able to be in the company of the Kalyana Mittas. May our Kalyana Mitta friendships be always maintained, deepen all the time. May we be not in the company of the Papa Mittas who can draw us from the Dhamma journey. Thinking thus, we are going to make the wish. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamu satang samagamu hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Finally, may all the good karmas which we've been accumulating, because this is the last day, Monday Sutta Study for 2023. We started off in July, so may all the good karmas which we've been accumulating throughout this year, 2023, by learning, understanding, applying Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and now certain section of the Sabbasava Sutta, be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pachayino Chattaro dhamma vadhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, that is the end of our sutta study for today. Wishing you a good night and wishing you a happy new year. Looking forward to seeing you next year, first week of next year. Yeah.